Hey guys, I'm Jordy, and this is your guide to the fight that lets your healers finally shine, the captured green dragon, Valithria Dreamwalker.
I have opened a portal into the dream. Your salvation lies within, heroes.
Now, Dreamwalker is a super unique fight in that rather than whittling a big boss's HP down to 0, you're actually healing Valithria back to 100% to return her to full power and subsequently ending the fight. Preventing you from doing this are waves of undead enemies working against you, each with specific abilities that you'll have to contend with. Now, fortunately, Valithria isn't doing nothing to help you out here. As she's chained to the ground, she'll open portals around her that your healers can enter to find themselves in the Nightmare, where they can fly around and collect clouds that provide a stacking healing buff, increasing their power and hastening the fight. As far as healing comp for this fight goes, contrary to every other fight in the game, you're actually looking to stack more healers than you normally would, as that's the only way to speed it up. Having your hybrids swap to their healing specs is a great idea here, but not strictly necessary, as your normal healing comp should be fine. Up to you, this is what we're going with, but your mileage may vary. Okay, so first let's discuss Valithria and how she works, and then we'll get into the ads. Valithria on heroic difficulty has 36 million HP and starts the fight at 50%, so you're looking to heal her for 18 million. Complicating this a bit is on heroic she takes some damage over time, so you'll end up healing her about 25 million to top her up over the course of the fight. Okay, so that's a lot of healing. How do you do this? About 45 seconds into the fight, 8 closed nightmare portals will appear. 15 seconds into that, the portals will open, allowing anyone who right-clicks on them to enter the nightmare. This phases the player and gives them the ability to fly around the room. Scattered throughout are red clouds waiting to be moved into. Once nearby, the clouds will pop, splashing a debuff called Twisted Nightmares on anyone within a small range, applying a small dot, but also increasing mana regen and most notably healing done by 10%. This buff lasts 45 seconds. 20 seconds after you take your portal, you'll be forced back into reality with the rest of the raid with some stacks of your new buff, where you can then use it to pump big heals into Dreamwalker. You'll get about 20 seconds before a new set of portals appear and the process repeats. It is critically important that the healers assigned to take the portals do so right as the portals open. And then, just as fast, rush to a cloud to refresh their debuff so that their stacks don't fall off. This buff really ramps effectiveness at high stacks because math, and letting your stacks fall off will prolong the fight and maybe lead to a wipe. Take your portals, rush a cloud, and then group up and grab clouds together so you all get the splash. We'll talk more about exactly how to do this in the walkthrough, but that's the gist of it. Okay, so your healers have that covered. What's the rest of the raid dealing with? Well, Valithria is flanked by 4 large bay doors that ads will spawn out of periodically. Each ad needs to be handled differently. We split the raid into 2 even groups, a tank on each side, and have them handle whatever ads spawn on their respective halves. As the fight progresses, the ads will speed up their spawns, so you're incentivized to finish the fight quickly, lest you get overrun. Okay, first and most importantly, the Blazing Skeletons. These guys spawn infrequently, but are the highest priority targets of the entire list of ads. About 50 seconds in, one will spawn, and after a short time, it will begin to channel Lay Waste. This does a room-wide pulse every 2 seconds, doing a big amount of fire damage to everyone in the raid. This is not interruptible, so you must kill it as fast as you can to prevent that damage going out. These are very dangerous, so if you see it, call it out and make sure everyone turns to kill it. Next up, suppressors. These Geist mobs ignore threat and will run toward Valithria, with the goal of channeling a debuff onto her that reduces healing taken by 10%. These will slow down the fight, so make sure you kill them before they reach her so they don't get the chance to channel it. After that, priority is pretty split between the remaining 3 ad types, each handled a bit differently. Let's start with the Risen Archmages. On pull, you'll see 4 of these guys. They aren't too bad. They'll cast Frostbolt Volley, which does some frost damage and applies a slow, as well as Mana Void, a small mana draining swirl that you should move away from, or you'll find yourself quickly out of mana. Finally, they'll cast Column of Frost, a completely avoidable patch on the ground that after 2 seconds will knock whoever is standing in it sky high and do some damage. It's not super dangerous, but avoid it to prevent it from hurting you. Next, Blistering Zombies. These guys can be nasty if not handled correctly. They apply a debuff called Corrosion every time they melee swing that does damage and applies a stacking armor reduction debuff. Your tanks really want to avoid eating these, so we have our hunters distracting shot and kite these around. They're also stunnable and slowable, so do your best to not let them interact with your melee in any way and nuke them from afar. Especially because when they die, they explode, dealing damage to anyone within 15 yards and applying a dot. Just stay away from them and blast them. Finally, gluttonous abominations. Your tanks will primarily be looking for these guys. They have a cone that does a good amount of damage called Gut Spray that applies a debuff increasing physical damage taken, so make sure you face them away from the melee, and when they die, a bunch of worms will spawn out of their corpses. AoE them down and try not to let too many hit you. They do apply a dot, but it's not too bad. And that's it for the ads. Alright, let's get to the walkthrough and see how this plays out. As far as assignments go, we have as many people flex up to healer as we can. Remember, the ads only spawn so fast, so your DPS will often just be sitting around while your healers pump. So fewer DPS and more healers means the encounter is finished faster. For this pull, we had our Ret and Shadow go holy. There's also a lot of talk about Sheath of Light. It seems to work quite well, but this isn't the video to discuss the minutia of this fight from a healer perspective. Just heal the boss. You split the raid in two, a tank on either side, ideally a mage as well, and split up your DKs. We do this to Frost Nova and slow the suppressors, as well as chains on the blistering zombies. It's not critical you do this perfectly, just split the raid up. We also have one healer assigned to heal the raid and not take the portal. As the Disc Priest, I elected to do it instead of going holy and healing the boss, but there are a lot of ways to go. I'd recommend not using a Holy Paladin for this. They really pump heals hard on Dreamwalker. Okay, on pull, we run in and clear the Risen Archmages. Interrupt their casts and then split the raid up and get ready for ads. We also park a Tenacity Hunter Pet in the boss and tell the Holy Paladins to beacon the boss and spam Holy Lights onto the Hunter Pet. The splash that it does off of it will be buffed by the pet's Blood of the Rhino talent, and once they've got a lot of stacks, it will really contribute a good amount to their healing. Again, this is not necessary, but it is helpful. Your tanks should work on calling what important ads are spawning on each side of the room. Blazing skeletons and suppressors need to be dead ASAP, and then work on the other stuff. Your healers will quickly see the portals telegraphed where they'll be, and they should post up at each one and get ready to take it. Once inside, they meet up and start making their way around the room, trying to stay stacked as they move so that each cloud splashes to all of them. Once they fall out, they go back to spamming the boss. The raid continues handling ads, and the healers jump into another portal. This second one, however, and every one thereafter, it's critical that they don't let the stack drop. They'll only have a few seconds to refresh it, so I'd recommend everyone rush to a cloud, pop it to refresh, and then meet up and start moving as a group. Also, for some reason, Crusader Aura works, so throw it up, and you can even Aura Mastery it for an extra bit of speed. Grow those stacks, pump the boss. When she's around 80 to 90%, as long as your healers are sitting around 30 stacks, once they drop out, you can lust and then just full pump the boss. Guardian Spirit also works on her to help increase healing done. You can also throw up Ant Magic to increase the healing done to her. That also helps somewhat. If you've prioritized the right ads, healers haven't dropped their stacks, and you can keep those suppressors off of her, she should quickly be feeling much better and get up, ready to get back in the action. Congratulations. Okay, let's talk about some tank tips. This fight is all about being vocal and calling out ads on your side. Grab the abominations and face them away from your melee. If you see a bunch of suppressors running toward Valithria, throw an Avenger Shield and slow them. It can help your DPS get the time they need to kill them before they reach the boss. For the healers, okay, so this is finally our fight. Let's act like it. Don't let those stacks drop. It's the most important thing to keep it rolling. Find a cloud, pop it, and then group up and move from there. Put someone in charge of calling for Bloodlust. If you do it too early and ignore the final portal, you're going to be sad that she's at 95% and you lost all your stacks. Make sure you've got enough healing for it. And for the healers staying out, it can get kind of hairy when the other healers are in the portals, so pop cooldowns and watch everybody. You'll also have some mana issues, so don't be afraid to call for innervates. I stood under the dragon and this let me reach most of the raid. And for the DPS, the goal here is to take as little damage as possible because the healers are busy with the boss. Don't stand in the A-bomb cone, kill the blazing skeletons and the suppressor ads as fast as you can, and kite the blistering zombies. Your DPS does not matter here. Just focus on the kill target and clean up the room ASAP. And that's it for Valithria Dreamwalker. She's a fun fight that you should definitely try to tackle week 1, as she's not too bad with a little know-how and focus. If you found this guide helpful or learned something, do me a huge favor and like and subscribe. I get it, it's annoying, but it truly does help and I really appreciate it. We've got a loot prio guide out now that you can find right up there somewhere, as well as an assignment sheet that we'll be posting soon. But if you're looking to get early access, check out my Patreon. We posted it there early, as well as some exclusive stuff I've put out about how to get ready for ICC now so you aren't caught with your pants down. And speaking of Patreon, a massive thank you to everyone who supported me thus far. I appreciate you guys. Thank you, thank you. All right, that's it for me. See you in the next one.